So we're going to talk about why didn't anyone tell me this 10, 15 years ago or 1,000 transactions, for me, 4,000 transactions ago. And so if there's people who are thinking about getting their real estate license that are on here, or if they're new, or if we just, we're selling 5, 10, 20 houses and we hit a plateau, we're going to go over just the fundamentals of this is what you need to know. And let me share my playbook. And really what I found is the secret is there is no secret. And it's really a lot more simple, like simplicity scales and complicated usually fails. And so I think we're always looking for something shiny and distracting and this magic bullet. And really, if you just build a business and you know what your model is and you just consistently grind at it, you're going to be successful. So thank you, Laura, for being on here. Thank you, everyone else who's productive, who can jump on and share their secrets. We're going to get started. And then feel free to chime in, to jump in, to raise your hand. If you're a new agent and you've got questions or you're thinking about, you're wildly crazy enough to think about getting into this business, because I know there's a couple that are getting licensed that are on here, feel free to jump in and ask questions. Thank you all for being here. Yay. Okay, so if
Awesome.
you don't know Laura Cooper, tell me how long have you been in, let me change our background. How long have you been in real
Oh,
estate? How did you get into real estate? Why should we listen to you?
I'm going to change my background too, but I'm always I'm
I'm gonna
special,
ping.
and I don't know if it's facing the right way.
That's right.
Did it change?
You're good.
Oh, it's fair for the first try. Okay. No, okay. So I don't know if last week it was when I was confused at how long I've been a realtor. So maybe that's my first advice is know how long you've been a realtor. I got my license in 2016 and then I was part-time, which that we're going to get to that, I think, in a little bit. I started out with a full-time job, making really good money, over six figures. And I thought real estate was going to be like a backup plan. And then I got really busy during COVID and I switched to full time. And the very first year that I was on my way to kind of transitioning, I iconed and like accidentally sold a ton of houses. And then I was like, okay, this is the real deal. So, I also will tell you a little bit about my personal life. So I have one child, he's 15, and I'm remarried. My husband has a son too that's graduated from college. So, I have a pretty simple family life, I would say, and I think that's important because my son's very easy. He's very low key, and I only have one. So you have three, and they're all under, what's your oldest?
So I have a 1-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 11-year-old.
Yeah. So I think that's important to like paint that picture too, because that matters a lot. And like I said, I've only ever been at EXP. I've focused primarily on production, not on anything to do with recruiting or growing my revenue share. And I have a very small team. And I am an open book, talking about team struggles, and the joys and the struggles of having a team. And I think we can also get into that too, because I know that's a hot topic, for people thinking that that's like somehow like the epitome of success or something in this business. So, yeah, so that's who I am. Everybody, do you want to, Amanda, just maybe elaborate
Yeah,
anything
so
else
I've been
about
in real
you?
estate 15 years now. It's gone by really fast. I still love it. I have 3 kids and 6 businesses. I'm mildly addicted to entrepreneurship, and I love helping other entrepreneurs get successful because I feel like if we're crazy enough to jump in with no parachute, like no the 1099 world, then you need that support system. And I just love building people who want to build businesses because it's very rare to see, and I'm passionate about that.
But you also have a husband who's in the business, and I have a husband who's not in the business. So my husband has been at the same chemical plant for over 20 years. He has grown in his role, as we've been married for the last 10 years. And so as I've been in real estate, he's been ramping up his career, W-2, great benefits, 401k. Again, all of this matters, I think, because when we talk about like the nitty gritty, like real life, like what we would do differently, or what things people need to think about. I think all of these factors come into play, right? They're real life.
Marry someone with a real job in insurance. I married an entrepreneur, y'all. I was
So,
scared.
I mean, I think let's talk about that for a second, Amanda, because I agree with that. I think that it's not that it can't be done,
Find
but
your
I
own
do.
health insurance.
Right. I mean, I think these are things that people probably do think about a little bit depending on their background, where they came from. And that's one of the biggest hindrances probably to people switching to be a full-time realtor is benefits and health insurance. So for me, my tidbit on that would be, Make sure you have a plan for that, a realistic plan for that. I mean, I've had to think about it. Again, we're all being raw and real here, right? I mean, marriage is not easy. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but like, I mean, it's my second marriage, so obviously I didn't do very good the first time. So you have to think about what would happen if I wasn't married to this person anymore. And so, Amanda, you've survived that with y'all both being, self-employed. But without going into the details, I don't think we want to waste our time talking about health insurance options. But like, you need to have a plan for these things. You need to have a plan for retirement, savings, a rainy day, and you have to have a plan for how are you going to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
These are real life things that make people leave this business. Like medical problems make people leave this business. I think probably.
You know what? I would love to add to that, that being at
Sure.
EXP, because we had insurance 4 years ago when they told me, hey, you have the Widowmaker, you need double bypass heart surgery, and you don't have you have less than 5 years to live. I was with a real estate company that actually had health insurance. And
Mm,
really, I could have died in the meantime if I didn't have insurance because I had to get the best doctors. So
yeah,
that's why I love this company because we have insurance.
yeah.
That is
Um, so Amanda, I guess, well, you tell me about, did you ever do this part-time or did you do it full-time? Because we should have that there. I know that's a big topic that when people start real estate, full-time, part-time, what are your thoughts?
So I'm the worst example because I started this because my mom got her license and then my boyfriend at the time, Jeff, got his license. And they kind of made it look easy. I was like in college doing really hard stuff and I was like, "Oh, you guys just went online and took a class? Like this is a piece of cake." And I feel like a lot of us do that where we're like, "We're going to get licensed and make a lot of money." And I had no idea that you had to be a lead generator and you had to learn tech and then all of a sudden you have to do social media and videos and open houses, like you had to be a marketer. But I totally started as a hobby, and then I just kind of got consumed with it. It went from part time to full time pretty quickly. What I found is my pet peeve that I want you guys as new agents to stop doing is saying, oh, I'm trying out real estate, or I'm going to dip my toes in the water, or I just got licensed and I'm going to see how it's going. When people ask you what you're doing, I want you to say, I run a real estate business, or I run a real estate company, or I'm a real estate entrepreneur. Because when you get that license, you are now a self-employed business owner. And to start thinking like a business owner, would you hire yourself or would you fire yourself? I see a lot. I know Dawn's on here and she had a 9 to 5. She was an engineer for a long time. There's a lot of part-time people who are out producing the full-time people. So I
Mhm.
think if you've got the full-time mindset and you find some leverage and you run it like a real estate business, like once you get licensed, some brokers just say if you're part-time, I can't work with you. I love those people because they're smart and they figured out how to have both. So
Yeah, and
Well, I
I will
think they're
say this.
some people are just multi-passionate. They're not looking to like do it part-time. They just have other passions.
Yeah, I could see that. And I will say this though, I did both jobs for 2 years, probably 2 solid years. And the one thing I can say though is that I fell in love with real estate, my second transaction. Like I knew that it was gonna be something that was gonna like really um like fuel me. Like I loved the challenge. I loved kind of the unknown part of it because it wasn't predictable and that fueled me and that excited me that I got to go and meet new people and see new properties. And I mean, I literally know where I was standing when I fell in love with real estate. I still kept my other job for almost 2 years, probably out maybe a little bit more after that. And so the one thing I can say following what Amanda said though is like by treating it like a business, I think you need to also be committed and know that you're going to enjoy it, that you're going to get fulfilled and don't do it half-ass and part-time. You know, that's not successful. And I think a lot of agents, one of the mistakes they make is they get into this business and they realize it's not really for them and they keep just trying to force it. And it's like you do need to have the courage to get out of it if it doesn't work. But you also need to, if you love it, then you need to treat it like a business and stop and don't half-ass it.
something that I've found that's really helpful when I do like a business launch with someone is I see what did they do before or what are they currently doing if they've got a 9 to 5? Because what I feel like is a lot of us go, I'm here and I want to be here. And we start to think of all the things we need to do rather than going, I'm here because I started over there and I've already done all this other stuff. And so think about what skills do you already have that you're bringing into your real estate business.
Mm.
And then before you start to think about, what am I going to do, decide who are you? Like, are you going to be a cold caller? Are you going to be an open house person? Are you going to be someone who does community, outreach, and who are you? And then find a niche, because that was my biggest mistake when I first started is I wanted to do everything. And so I was like, I'm going to do all the open houses, and I love luxury, and I love new construction, and I want to do all of these different things. And yes, it's nice to get that experience, because then you know what when you first start out, you don't know what you don't know, right? And then like year two, you're like, oh, now I know what I didn't know, and you can make decisions. But really try to find one or two things and focus on those and find your niche, because a lot of people want to market to everyone, and you're marketing to no one. So know what that is and be really, really, really specific. And when you do content, say specifically, hey, if you're a first-time home buyer, this video is for you. If you want to buy in Katy, this video is for you. I think a lot of us are too generalized.
And I actually am going to say even further than that, find a niche, maybe not find your niche, because you may not know what that is. So don't let the decision of trying to figure out what that is do analysis paralysis on you. Pick something and repeat it enough and for long enough until you see whether it works and you see whether or not you fall in love with it. So it might be that you think you want to start, Dawn is like the cold calling queen, she tried it. She's done it repeatedly. Maybe if she gave up on it, she would have hated it. Maybe she hated it for the first 3 weeks, but after she found success in it, she fell in love with it. But also, I think a lot of people, like I talk to a lot of realtors who want to find a niche, but they don't know which one, and they're so nervous to make a decision, they never make a decision. And so I think you do need to pick one at least and try it. And then that doesn't mean that you can't evolve or change, because I mean, look how your business has changed from going from regular transactions to you do a lot with investors now, and the quantity and the mix of your transaction types has completely evolved over the 15 years you've been doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we forget, like, if you get into this business, it's probably because you saw something on social media or TV and you're like, oh, I love houses. And there's the influencers are like the top 1%, maybe top 5% to be gracious. And if everything that you follow, even at like your husband's traditional job where he worked, you start off and you're trading your time for learning, right? Your currency is I'm going to learn everything. And you're so energized. You're like, I'm so thankful that I got to get into this field. I'm so excited that I get to learn. I'll do all of the open houses, right? And then you don't really make a lot of money, maybe up to like 50,000. And then after you've been there for, 1 or 2 years and you start really planting seeds, then you start to build your business and you start to get your referrals and you start to know what you didn't know, right? And most people stop there. Most people have to work really hard and they might make up to $150,000, but it takes almost like 10 years to become that influencer where you're like, I know everything and I can teach people and I can be successful. And that's where you make your money. And everyone sees these influencers and then they start down here. And when they're not getting those results, they quit and they go to another industry or they go to another company and they've got to start back over. I mean, there really is no secret other than sweat equity. I know you see it in your husband, it took 20 years, but for me, it took me at least 10 years to get to where I am.
Yeah, and I mean, when you say influencer too, though, that doesn't mean the influencer that's like internet famous. You just mean an influencer in your realm, whatever your realm is. If your realm is that your clients, your past clients, and your sphere, like your personal sphere, see you as an influencer in the industry or a resource in the industry, that's what we mean. You have to like stay the course until that starts happening. For me, I feel like it was about, I did maybe like, again, I was part-time. I feel like I did like maybe 8 transactions and then 12 transactions. And then I feel like I did 40 because COVID hit.
Right.
That's what I think I remember. I might be missing a year in there, but it was like the year after COVID. So if you add that all up, I may have closed 60 deals, but I started getting referrals from my past clients and then their friends. Like it was a domino effect. And if I would not have held out until that 4th year, I would have been gone. And so I think it is, you say like plant the seed for the first year to 2 years. And I think that in years 3 and 4 is when people will start making enough money that it feels like a real career, and it's supportive, right? But if you don't have a plan for the first 2 years during that seed planting time, I mean, I'd love to know of anybody on here. I'm not much of a like cheesy poller, but like Was anybody going to quit like after their first 2 years? Like who was going to quit? Raise your
I
hand.
was gonna quit. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I was an
Yeah.
operator at the chemical plant, similar to what Laura's husband does. And I hit a wall where I made some money, and I was just like, this kind of sucks for the time and energy that I'm spending in order to make the money. And so one of my friends was also a realtor, so I ended up getting my license, and I was an undercover agent for the first 2 years. My clients were the gentlemen that I work with in that plant. And so I did do decent the first year. But because of the fact that I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, financially, I had a cushion. So there was no pressure for me to move. And,
Hmm.
and, and what ended up happening, I hit a point in my life where I had to question my life choices and where it was going. And so I ultimately decided to take a cold plunge and just pull the trigger. Um, I, I, I didn't come from money. I cashed out a 401. I had some savings. Now also I'm house hacking. I have two roommates in the house that I bought because of that career. So the financial pressure is kind of passed on to that. Um, One of the gentlemen's on here, I think Tesoro team added me on Facebook. You'll see all my positive post stuff that I work. How you doing, man? You'll see all the positive stuff that I post on social media in the mornings. I leverage social media because I didn't have money. I found the easiest, fastest way to get a hold of people, which is why my setup's kind of nice. I have a nice mic, I have a nice camera. That was worth me investing in. And I've also kind of just used um, my local area. I know all the small business owners, not all, most of them, because I'm eating here, I'm buying here, I'm supporting here. I'm getting a taste for what the weather's like in this environment, right? What's the staff talking about? Get to know them, make friends with people. I found that the easiest way for me to grow this business is, since we're accelerating, helping you guys pass this information down, is I just incorporated my hobbies. I'm the car guy. I'm the fitness guy. I'm the positive guy. I'm in a certain scene, and I just doubled down around that. And that group of people, that sphere, has what brought community around what I'm doing, and I'm in that community as well. And that is the easiest way for me to get leads. And that's because I'm not doing anything that I wouldn't do outside of work. I'm not a realtor. I'm a hobby guy, and I make friends with my hobbies. And I just so happen to be the real estate guy. This is why most of, and I need to do a better job at it, because I think this is where I'm not capitalizing on, reminding people and asking for business, and kind of leading and saying, hey, I'm not just the hobby, I'm the realtor. But
Right.
that's where now I'm learning to kind of, at year 5 is where I'm growing and trying to figure out how to merge the two together. Imposter syndrome was a real thing for me, but through vulnerability and social media and the things that I've been doing, leveraging my, are you a race car fan? I do like cars. My brand was kind of built on a car hobby. If you look at my hand, there's a Cadillac tattoo that I shaped like a house. So I dove into that 110%. And so this is just my identity. So don't overthink it. Honestly, if I can tell you anything, whatever quirky, nerdy little thing you have about yourself, there's another friend or someone around you that also enjoys that too. And so there's more people also in that community. Find your hobbies. That's the bridge breaker between the ice, breaking that ice and making that connection. If you can make a connection over something, then that's essentially how, in my opinion, I've been able to scale this business.
So what you just described is rapport building, right? And so like in our success coaching, we learned that that's like a huge skill. And you just described it as a hobby person, but that's what it takes, right? You need to find you can find something in common with anybody. And I'm gonna add to that whole don't be a secret agent thing. And I think we were gonna get to this at some point in this call, but that's one of my biggest lessons that I'll repeat over and over again is that you need to tell every single person and every opportunity that you're an agent, that you can help them. And when I started doing that, I know when it was. I've been really blessed that I've had, like, if you pay attention to profound moments in your life, they'll be there. They're there. You just have to pay attention. And in real estate, and I mean, it's a God thing. I do believe that, but I was in the nail salon, so I know which house I was in when I fell in love with real estate, and I know where I was when I started not being afraid to tell people I was a realtor. And I was in the nail salon, and I was on the phone with a client, and when I got off the phone, a lady asked me, "Hey, do you sell houses?" And I normally would be like, "Yeah," and then I would kind of like go back to doing, but I literally just asked her if she needed a realtor and how I could help because I knew she was curious. And I think it helped that she asked me, but it made me have an eye-opening moment where I said, okay, you don't need to be shy about this because you never know where you're at when somebody's going to need what you offer. And so just don't be shy about it. And it's really funny because, Fernando, I know how much real estate you've sold in the last couple of years. And you aren't a newbie per se. I mean, you're not, this isn't your first year. There are agents on here right now that have been selling real estate for years and still don't have the balls to tell people that they meet. I mean, you can put your money where your mouth is, most of you. So the new agents, I want you to take this as an example that just because you're new, you've got agents that have been around longer than you that have the experience and they're still not willing to open their mouth. So my point is open your mouth now. And sorry, I cuss. Fuck around and find out, right? Just say it and see what happens. You've got a deep bench. Like you've got all the people on this call, all the people that are around you that can help you out. So if you go out over your skis on a conversation because you talk to a stranger, and you're like, oh shit, what did I just do? I got a listing and I've never even listed a house before. That's what we're all here for. So, but you're never going to have those conversations or those opportunities unless you just open your mouth. And I will say that nail salon conversation, I think that was like my first stranger listing, if I think back to it, where it wasn't like a referral or somebody I already knew. And I just kind of faked it till I made it. I mean, I had the skills, but like you still feel awkward. And I'm just saying, you've got a deep bench, people. Like lean on your resources and open your damn mouth.
So perspective is everything for me. And what I've found is if you know that you care about your clients and you know that if you don't know the answer, you'll find it, and you know that you're going to actually have a financial, like you're going to take care of your people and not put yourself ahead of them, you're doing a disservice and you're being so selfish and stingy to not reach out to those people because those people are having life changes. They're going to find a realtor that's going to help them, and that realtor is not going to care the same way that you do. They're not going to have the support system that you have. They're not going to care about every little detail in their family. They're going to care about their percentage, right? And so if by you being too worried to bother them and too nervous to get declined, those people are going to go out and find help by somebody who's going to give inferior service, and then you're going to find out about it later. And they're going to tell you all these horror stories of how people didn't take care of them. And so if you care about your people, remind them that you are a professional in this field.
And then like going back to like the niches and like the hobbies too, and I guess we probably could have posed this as more of a question, Amanda, but like finding a niche can be something that you're not really thinking about. So I'd say be creative and pay attention to um, deals you've done and that what you feel like you've really succeeded at and you've been good at that might not seem like a niche. So like a niche might seem like working with investors. Um, I have found I'm really good at working with divorced people or divorcing people. So, interestingly enough, so now whenever I'm in a conversation with anybody anywhere and they mention that they're separated or divorcing, I say, hey, if you need a realtor, I'm really good at that and I'm really sensitive. I have a ton of experience. And that might feel, Angela, hi.
Hey,
Sorry.
Angela.
It might feel awkward. It might feel awkward. But I say also like look for a special skill in like an odd place that you may not realize, or like take a deal you've done that maybe was kind of weird and like figure out how to leverage that experience to go find additional business in that realm, in that area.
Well, ask yourself, what is that one thing that everybody keeps coming to you for advice for consistently? And that's
Yeah.
the thing. Angela, hey girl, you're muted.
Oh, hi. Hello. So I just wanted to say real quick that all of these things that we're discussing are things that I have experienced in my time with EXP. I'm on year 4.5, and I never really thought about quitting because I always loved real estate and I knew that I wanted to get into it, but I didn't get my license until 2022. And so, and I joined EXP because of a conversation that I had with the lovely Amanda and Abby Steele. And so I'm doing all of these things that we're talking about now, but it wasn't like a light switch for me, you know? Like I work at a golf course, and so that's how I tie in my hobby. And I don't really know that working with golf people is my niche per se, but when I work at the golf course, the first thing that I do is I put a thing of business cards out. If I'm working in the little concession stand area, I put a little thing of business cards out, and people ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh, is this you?" Yes, it's me. I run my business with EXP. I don't say, "Oh, I'm a realtor." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a real estate agent." I'm like, "Yeah, no, working here is my side hustle. I run my business with EXP." I made a lot of mistakes so far. I spent a lot of money that I wish I didn't spend, but it was all like a trial and error type thing. If anybody wants to know all the shit that I spent money on that ended up not working, I'll tell you.
Well,
Um,
I want to interject because this is part of our whole shtick
Yeah,
today.
we're helping realtors save time and money.
I,
Tell
I don't want to put you on the spot, but give us like an example of something you spent money on that you're like, I wish I would not have done that. That was stupid.
okay, so I don't know if I've tried the wrong ones, but I personally don't believe in paying for leads because every time that I have, it just didn't work out, and the leads that I got were crap. So I'm trying really hard not to cuss. Me and Laura are friends strictly for the fact that we like four-letter words, and I know this is being recorded. So I'm trying not to. But I paid for leads through realtor.com. I did the buy your own zip code and be the rep in your zip code. I still have an account with OpCity, but I changed my preferences because of all the leads that I've gotten that just turned out to just not really be great leads. So I changed it to where like you better be serious if you're in this category and in this, money bracket. I did the Google ad campaign. I just finished my taxes, y'all. I just did my taxes, and I spent almost $11,000 in advertising, just in advertising. And probably half of that was advertising myself through Google, through Facebook campaigns, through whatever. And the other half was for listings that I had. But so I don't do the Google crap anymore. And I did it because I stuck my head in the sand and was like, I don't know what SEO and all this other crap means. So I'm going to have a meeting with somebody and have somebody help me, which it was helpful, but they were like, well, if you want to get noticed, you need to have this type of a budget. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm not making money. Like, I just don't have it. And so I personally wouldn't do that. Now, maybe it works for other people, but for me, it didn't work. So, but I also have a degree in graphic design. So I'm okay with computers and making things and Canva. I love our EXP account that we have with Canva. So I've learned to do things that work, and I will still pay for. I'm not trying to sound like I'm a cheap ass, just I have two kids and, and two jobs, and my husband has two jobs, and, so, but I've learned things that I can pay for that are not literally going to drain my bank account, because that's where it gets hard for me as a realtor. I personally don't like being a listing agent because of all the effort that I put forth in my clients and trying to sell their property and trying to advertise their property, that I don't like being a listing agent because it costs a lot of damn money. And when you're a buyer's agent, you don't have to advertise your buyer. You just have to make sure that your buyer has all of their ducks in a row and you help them.
Just gas money, girl.
Yeah, so that's something to think about too when you're new, and you're not new, but like when you're new, you're going to have a lot more time than money. And then when you're experienced, you're going to have a lot less time and a lot more money. So you're always giving up something. It's just what makes sense for you at that
I
time.
almost
if you're
think when you start real estate, and if anybody disagrees with me, that's fine. I almost think that when you start real estate and you don't know whether or not you're going to be full-time, or, like if you're not sure, I almost think that you need to have a backup plan, or you need to have another job, or you need to have like a nest egg specifically built up for that, because real estate is one of these jobs where whether or not you close a deal, all of your monthly dues and all of your crap is like you still have to pay it. Like,
Yep.
no, all of the associations, they don't give a shit if you don't close a deal, you had a bad month or whatever. You still have to pay your dues and your har and your nar and your tar and all the other whatever.
So true.
I also think if you go into this not being willing to give up time at the beginning until you start making the money, then you've given yourself a false expectation of what's required of you to actually be successful. So I think you have to be willing to give up time. And a lot of people underestimate that. And I know we always everyone always says you think it's going to be flexible, and it's not, but it can be flexible, but you do have to pay your dues. But I do think also, if I had had more, maybe intelligent conversation with bigger thought leaders and then put myself in different meetings whenever I was early on, I would have maybe learned how to leverage external resources better than I did. It took me a while. So you can leverage, I think even Angela and I, we don't realize Angela's leverage for me, you know, and I can call Angela, and I've had recently Angela help me. And I think if I would have known to make those kind of connections, making people connections, because leveraging Angela is free pretty much. I might pay her to open a door every now and then, but if we're friends enough, we don't even necessarily care if we charge each other. But my point is that I don't think
is my payment.
I know I did pay her in that recently. But I think that new agents need to know that they need a network and leverage, but they still have to make a time deposit into their business before they start getting the reward.
I think
So,
I think if you have a 9 to 5 and you really want to build in real estate can be your 5 to 9, like 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you really have to commit to that. I heard a saying that I loved. It said people typically use their weekends to escape the life that they have rather than using your weekends to build the life that you want. And so find every minute that you can to build it. And what's funny is if I want to be a pro basketball player, I've got to practice all the time, right? Or if I want to be a good golfer, I have to practice all the time, and it takes years of commitment. We start our real estate business, and if we're not making money in 6 months, we want to quit, right? And I think that the problem that we have is comparison, right? We want to compare my chapter 54 to Angela's chapter 3 and Sarah's chapter 7, and we're all in different levels and in different places. And so I think knowing that you have to do a time commitment, and then knowing your who's, right? Who are your people? You're the CEO of your business, but who's your board of directors? Who's your advisor? Who's your leverage? Who's your showing concierge? Who's going to do your back end paperwork? Who's your CFO, right? And so I think if you don't have a board of directors for your business, that could be a big takeaway for today. Sarah, sorry, you've had your hand raised.
Honestly, that was something huge that I was going to touch on too, because I was the realtor who, after about 2 years of being in the business, I ended up going over and switching over into title. And it matters about who you have in your corner and who's there to help you, learn and teach you how to actually be a good agent and stuff, because I was completely clueless. And thank God I had a nest egg back then, because I went from being a business coordinator with the permitting center over to being a real estate agent. And I worked with new builds and stuff. And so it kind of correlated with that. But I also didn't have somebody that led me in the way that I needed to be led. And you being my board of directors and stuff like that, Amanda, you're amazing. But you need to find your people and make sure that you align with them, and also that you just, you still, I went and did title, and then I lost my license, y'all, it lapsed. And I had to retest in order to get my license back, because I was like, what the heck am I doing? I'm teaching realtors how to be a realtor now. I'm just as good, if not better, than half these people that are basically using me to be good realtors, and all they want me to do is buy drinks. So I was like, I can be a better realtor than this. And I don't know, by the grace of God, I ended up under Jeff and Amanda, and ended up being a part of EXP, which I've never seen such a great brokerage. And I even, back when I first started title, somebody told me, hey, why don't you just recruit for EXP? And I'm like, oh, what, drink the Kool-Aid? I don't think so. And now I'm like, I'm drowning in the Kool-Aid. I love it so much. But yeah, choose your people wisely. Make sure you have the people in your corner, and that's your leverage, guys. You just keep moving forward and don't give up on yourself.
Okay, Laura, I've got a question. So a lot of us, I know I was one that thought as soon as I get my license, like I'm good, like I can finally relax and breathe, like now I'm going to make money, right? Like I didn't think about it like, okay, my license gives me permission, but it didn't really give me opportunity. And so no one really owed me deals. And I just thought that when I got licensed, people like my friends would be like, oh, I'm going to send you all of these deals. And what I've learned is that your clients become your friends faster than your friends become your clients,
Yep.
which is very humbling. What would you recommend as a newer agent or an agent that maybe doesn't have a lot of time, they have a little bit of time, but they have no money? How do you start to get that pipeline, filling up?
Yeah. I fault real estate classes because they don't teach you any of this. This is not really part of what you're taught, and so that's a big disappointment. I will tell you, and it's funny to give him credit, and the book is sitting right here on my bookshelf, but the Red Book. I read Gary Keller's book. Um, and I think my mentor, I think Keith is the one who told me to read it because he was KW.
Yeah. Was it the one thing or the MREA book?
The MRE, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Yeah. And I actually didn't even finish it, but I finished enough of it that I got through the part where I knew that my first hire needed to be a transaction coordinator before I hired a buyer's agent. But it also taught you about like touching your sphere. And I didn't even know what that meant, y'all. I'd never even heard the word sphere of influence. Had I not read three-quarters of that book, I would have behaved completely different. So I think the thing for me is when you start, you have to, and this is like, again, new people on here, great people that have been selling. This is how you can help the people that you meet. They get their license. I know Shima, you're meeting a lot of people at Champions, so agents need to know this. But you have to figure out how to tap into your sphere. You have to be careful, like Amanda said, because your sphere can be your family, and then your family transactions can be some of the worst transactions you've ever had in your life, and they can actually ruin your relationship with one of your favorite cousins. Me, that happened.
This gets
Um,
awkward real fast.
yeah, like legitimately, I don't talk to one of my cousins anymore over a real estate deal, you
Mhm.
know? Yeah. And I'm sure somebody on here has had something like that happen. So, some of my best friends, like family, were clients that turned into family. So Amanda's spot on with that. But I think you've got to learn how to tap into your sphere. And you've got to learn how to use some form of electronic communication. You don't have to like get all crazy with a CRM to start, but you have to have some sort of a methodical approach to client or sphere touching and getting the word out that you're a realtor. And then free lead generation stuff, right? You got to educate yourself, and you got to be willing to put in the time and work weekends and host open houses. We're going into selling season right now. One of the things that disappoints me the most about realtors, and I'm not sure who else on here feels this way, is the newer realtors who don't want to put in the time and do not they host an open house and nobody shows up, and then they think that these suck and I'm never going to do them again. That to me, that's the thing, that when you start out, you have to create your client base, and whether that's again talking to strangers or hosting open houses to meet strangers or working your sphere. Like Fernando mentioned that he was an operator, so he has a whole database of guys that he worked with that he could reach out to and say, "Hey, man, I left the plant, but now I'm a realtor." Did I answer your question, Amanda?
I think so. I think the question was like how to really build that pipeline. I agree. Like a lot of new realtors are like, I signed up for Zillow Leads and Zillow Flex, and like they take like half of your money sometimes. And yes, I think that it's nice that you got that experience and you're getting your reps in. But I also think that if we would just say, some people are like, oh, my pipeline's low. And I'm like, what are you doing every single day to fill your pipeline? Because your current clients are important, but your future clients are arguably sometimes more important, and they're not doing like the same thing over and over. So I know like when I'm team building, I have to meet one person per day. And so if you're building your pipeline for production, maybe you call 5 people a day, maybe you have 5 conversations per day. It can be something really simple, but it needs to be a non-negotiable that you author and you own because it's your business. And 5 people per day doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 35 people a week, and that's what 150 plus per month, and that's a shiz ton for the whole year. And so I think that a lot of you just keep it simple, 5 conversations a day or 10. When Jeff started, he had to do 40 conversations a day, which was crazy.
No way.
Crazy. And then think about, working smarter, not harder. I don't want like I personally sell 150 houses plus per year. I don't want 150 clients. I want 5 to 10 clients that send me 5 to 10 deals. And so go find the connectors, go find people who are the business owners and say, hey, I have a small business. I'm self-employed and I'm running my own small company. I love that you have this coffee shop or that you've got this restaurant or that you're in this farmer's market or whatever, and interview them and tag their social media, because then you get to piggyback off of their audience. And every time they have a new hire, they'll send you their business. And so try to think smarter, not harder, but then consistently every single day, whether you feel like it or not, even if it's cold outside or you want to go do something cool, do it every single day. Does anyone have like a non-negotiable that they do every day for lead generation they want to share?
I'll just post my little positive lesson that I learned for the day. Back to just to me, this the simplest way to reach a lot of people was social media. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not a social media person." Neither was I. You want to talk about not feeling confident in themselves? I was thinning out at 30, and I was like, "Crap, I've got to shave my hair." You know how embarrassing that was as an individual to lose your hair. And then I'm 5'3", so I was beating myself up about all this stuff. So not only was I a little heavy set, I was thinning out, and I'm short. So I
You
thought
make up for it with energy, buddy.
well, that's, and you're right. I had to work through that. So part of building the confidence that I received and I've gained from using social media is now also the confidence that I use to be able to voice what I do, and to take those skills into really taking the sell. If someone sees a post that I made online, whether it's something positive, there's a lot going on in the world right now. So I'm fighting that with spreading joy, positivity, teaching people to find the good in the day. Well, all those little things over the day have stacked up, and now people are excited to talk to me. People know that don't go around Fernando unless you want positivity, right? Because I'm not, that's my new standard, right? Because that's what I want around myself. And so doing those little things like that has built a good community around, and that's my non-negotiable for me, is just once a week, every other day, post something in there that does something for someone else that I've learned that's benefited my life. And that has made a connection and brings me a little bit of business because it's a little bit more real instead of just real estate related. In my opinion, that's kind of what's working for me.
So,
But
Amanda,
oh,
oh, sorry.
no, I was gonna say, but also doing those videos have helped with the confidence of my self-image and being comfortable with looking at myself and being okay with putting myself on camera. So it's like two birds, one stone. So it gets the message out there, but also my lazy eye, the little gap, the being bald, my ear, whatever it is, whatever thing that we all have that we're insecure about ourselves. I've learned to work through that. And I think most of us are looking for that little confidence booster to just put the reps in. We all feel it. Just put the reps in, and you'll end up it works.
Yeah.
You get comfortable. Yeah.
Reps for everything. I think we joked about that, Fernando. Like it's hard until it's not hard, right? Like anything you want to start that's worthwhile is going to be really hard to do until it's not hard, right? Going to the gym or having those conversations. Or for me now, I just do a video and I post it. I don't even look at it. Like it's just going to go out there. And what's cool is it's evergreen, right? Like people can see it 4 years from now. Or, I might do a post with Laura and I get 1,000. Sarah and I had one. We had like 1,500 people see it. And I'm like, imagine renting a room and having 1,500 people listen to us for 3 minutes. And it's free, and I didn't have to pay for the venue. Like it's such a cool opportunity. So
Yeah. And I think we say like fake it till, I said that earlier too, fake it till you make it, but it's not really that. It's more that if you do the thing enough, you're going to get confident. And so that's what the reps do, right? They get you comfortable with who you are. You need to still be authentic, but I think you have to just have the courage to put yourself out there when you're uncomfortable, and then that discomfort will turn into comfort. Like, I mean, Fernando says it. You're still gonna have those features or those things about you, or like, I think my face looks fat on the screen, or my hair is not perfect because it's not hair day. But I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you get seeing yourself, listening to yourself. And this even goes to like talking in front of clients just at a house, right? I mean, this principle applies across the board, whether you're on Facebook, on a live video. I don't really love video. You don't love social media. We don't love it, but we do it because, like you said, it's a way to spread your reach. But either way, if you don't try it and do it repeatedly, you're never going to feel comfortable.
It's like micro exposure therapy or exposure
Yeah.
therapy. Like just get exposed over
I
and
like
over.
micro dosing mushrooms. I don't know. That's what I heard when you said micros. Anybody heard of that? Everyone's heard of that. They're laughing. I have never done it, but I feel
Yeah,
like it's a thing.
I'm such a square.
Micro dosing
Amy's like
LSD.
laughing. She's from Canada. I bet they do mushrooms
It's a
up.
thing. Just microdose yourself with yourself, and then eventually you'll get comfortable and you'll feel the effect.
So funny. Oh, and
Yeah,
don't try all the mushrooms. Like just do 1 or 2 lead generation buckets, y'all.
correct.
We see all
Correct.
these different all the mushrooms. We see all these different like opportunities, and we're like, oh, Laura's killing it with this, and Tao's
Yeah.
doing social media, and Tanya's doing coaching, and Fernanda's doing cool videos. And like we want to do all the things.
Yeah.
Just do 1 or 2 and
Yeah.
master those and keep it really simple. Do it every day, over and over and over. And if you master the mundane, I think we get bored and we're like, we're not seeing results. We need to try something shiny. Master the mundane and do it over and over and over and over and over. If you follow any kind of stock or compounding interest, or I mean, really follow the trends, it just starts like this and then it slowly starts to increase. Then all of a sudden you see results. And so kind of trust Laura, like kind of like your bamboo story, right? Where it's been growing for 6 years underground and then all of a sudden it just shoots up. So trust the process.
So Amanda, what you've been doing this so long, I'm sure you have a lot of these, but if there was one thing you could have not done or removed from your business or your life, what would you get rid of?
Ooh, okay. So I'm a huge people pleaser and I kind of like that sometimes because I love people and I want to connect people and I want the validation and I'm like super like, love me and let's hang out and let's connect everyone. But with that comes typically a lack of boundaries, right? Of, oh yeah, I can do that and I can do this and sure, I'll help you with that. And what you find is if you do that over and over and over, you get really burnt out and you get resentful and you get frustrated at the other person, even though you're the one who volunteered for that. And so for me, what I would have gone back and done differently is have really clear boundaries, like going back to clarity, right? Really clear boundaries on who I am, what I do, what aligns with what my vision is, and be able to say no to all of the noise. Because I think a lot of times we get distracted by opportunity. We can all agree that in Houston, there's thousands of realtors and some of these people are selling 5, 10,000 houses a year. Like there's not a lack of opportunity, right? There's a lack of clarity and skill set and knowledge and us actually executing what we need to execute. And by me saying yes to everything, I kind of got burnt out and couldn't focus on one specific thing. And so if y'all lack boundaries, read a book. There's a lot of them out there and really be clear on that. And so now I don't work past 3 o'clock and I don't work weekends and my clients know that. So they'll book me 2 weeks in advance and they know that love you, Sarah. Thank you. Sarah drove to Crystal Beach and showed like 12 houses for me last weekend because they know that Amanda's not going to go show houses on the weekend. And so just know that if you're running it like a business and you run your business a certain way, be okay with those boundaries and be up clear in front with those boundaries and just make sure your people are taken care of. So yeah, boundaries is probably the only major thing I would change.
I love that. So for me, it would be learning how to set expectations with everyone in every aspect of this business sooner. And I'm still working on that. I still like, even with my team, that's probably been my hardest lesson learned is making sure to set clear expectations of what's expected out of everybody, what reality is like for me. And this concept goes to my marriage to do with real estate and to meeting a buyer. Like I think when you say boundaries, that's also expectations, right? Because you tell people, hey, the expectation is that you're not going to be able to get a hold of me after 3 o'clock and I'll answer you tomorrow. That works with clients. Like with a spouse, for me, it's, hey, this is going to be a really demanding career change and it's going to take up a lot of my time and my weekends and my evenings to start with. Again, this is me. And I think the other thing too is it's okay that like you're not willing to work evenings and weekends, but I'm okay with that.
Right.
And we can all be different. Everybody doesn't need to grow up to be like Amanda or Laura one day.
Yeah.
It's what works for you in your life. I don't mind. But I will say this, I needed to set better expectations with my husband for what the demand of this career based on my drive. I am super high drive. I like it to consume me because I love it. He didn't get that. Like we struggled until probably honestly this past year, y'all. Like 9 years I've struggled with things to do with like, why are you taking that call when we're walking along the streets on vacation? But also like the spouse, you have to also teach your spouse to like, they need to set their expectations, right? So for me, that's just a huge word. I like that, boundaries and expectations. I think they go together. And I think that you can apply both of those in so many different ways. And it leads to success, whether you're setting a boundary and expectation with a client, with your spouse, with a team member, with an agent that you just hire to go show a house for you. You know, you can tell them what you expect, because how many times have we had little examples of things that, you know, they piss you off and they take up your precious positive energy because you could have just set the expectation differently, and then you would have had a better outcome.
I think another word to add, especially with coming with work meets private life, is non-negotiables. And so, and that might not be your non-negotiable. It might be your husband's of saying you can work all the time, even at night, except for when we're on vacation, right?
Yeah.
Or except for when we're doing X, Y, and Z. Does anyone else have like you're either married to an entrepreneur or you're married to someone who's a regular human with a 9 to 5? And do you have an imbalance or you have to over communicate to keep the peace?
You can just raise your hand. You don't have to talk. Surely there's enough people. There's got to be somebody on here who's had that.
I was like, yes. Amy said,
Yeah.
yes, I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting is people are people. So if we can master either team building or production or even our marriages, like you can take that skill set and take it anywhere. Dee Dee said, boundaries yeah. So Dee Dee, you're a positive people pleaser too, which is fun, right? We'd love to do it. We'll never stop doing it. But boundaries just re-energizes us.
What's interesting is I'm a high D and I'm not a people pleaser. But what I have found is that my disappointment, my upset comes from me not setting boundaries with people. And it has nothing to do with me caring whether they like me or not. It's about whether I get the outcome that I wanted. So it's very interesting, the difference between how you use boundaries and how I use boundaries.
Do you feel like you're not going to get the outcome if you don't personally put in the work? Like, are you afraid of leverage, or what do you
Well, I think that's part of it. But in order to feel comfortable leveraging other people, I have learned that I'm not setting boundaries clearly so that they're, I don't want to say doing what I want, how I want, but when you're a high D, that's what it feels like, right? It's not that you don't have gray area as long as you get the outcome, but you still have to at least set some kind of expectations, because when you're a high D and you don't say that out loud, and then they didn't even try what you thought you wanted them to try, you're like going, what the fuck are you doing? And you've done this whole thing to yourself because you haven't vocalized the boundary. But it's not because you're worried about them getting upset. You get upset. It's weird. I don't know how. It's like
That's
the inverse.
a lack of communication? That's like team stuff too. Like if your team isn't doing well, usually it's the leader's fault. Like
Yeah.
and even our kids, like we love our kids, right? They are wanting to make us happy. They want to have
Yep.
the best relationship with us at all times
Yep.
as possible. But if they're not, it's typically because we didn't say something or we didn't set that standard.
That's right. They want to please you. Your dog wants to please you. Your team wants to please you. Everybody does. And you just have to communicate properly to get the intended outcome,
Yeah.
right?
Especially, no offense, but for guys, like for me, I'm like, it's obvious what I want, y'all. Like, just give me what I want. And Jeff's like, you didn't say that you wanted
Yep.
that. If you would have said clearly that you wanted that, I would have given that to you. And so
Yep.
for Fernando's like, I'm like, yeah. So like for men, like women, we need to overly communicate and simplify for
Yep.
them what we want. And by God, they'll give it to us. It's like magic.
Yep.
So-
One other thing, this is totally off the subject, back to like something I wish I would have done. It's crazy with as successful as I've been that I don't have this right now. So I wish that I would have, you talked about like your clients that are kind of, I call them like your rock star clients, the ones that refer you, and you only want to have 5 or 10 clients, you don't want to have 500. So that triggered me to think about this that I still haven't done. I started to go in my CRM and tag my rock stars as rock stars, the people that refer me the most. But I would say anybody on here right now, if you have not done that, you've got, even if it's a damn like piece of paper hanging on your wall or a whiteboard, when you've got a client that you're like, oh my God, they just referred me a client and they were super excited about it. Like, oh my God, you're the best. You need to keep a list of those people, y'all, and you need to love on them. And
You only need 5.
I'm telling you, I mean, I have this one guy, y'all, he is my best. And I do remember him naturally because he's my best. But can you imagine if I had those 10 and I had him like nailed down. I knew who they were and I was making an intentional effort to reach out to them, love on them, and care about them, because I do. I think that's one of my biggest like tactical.
Well, you like psychology. So if you think about like Pavlov, right? Or in the dog and all that stuff salivating, people love positive reinforcement, right? We see that with our kids and our pets and everything. So if someone, like if Angela were to send me a referral, or someone like my past client were to send me a referral, send them some cookies, send them some flowers fast, give them positive feedback, positive reinforcement.
Yep.
So they go, ooh, this feels good.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Yeah. You only
Yeah.
need 5, and just love on those 5 people. And I'm telling you, you will be so busy.
So like everybody, your homework is I'm gonna hold myself accountable, but y'all are gonna hold me accountable. Okay. So like next week, I'm not, this is not really what we designed this call for, but I'm doing it, okay? Because I'm sick of my own shit. So I'm going to come back next week.
That's the name of the class. Are you sick of your own shit? You should come to our Tuesday trainings.
I actually love that. Of course I do. So I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna have my list, y'all. No more than 10, and I'm gonna have my rock star clients, and I'm gonna like put that thing, I might save it in my phone as a note. Maybe I'll create a weekly invite on my calendar that shows up every week that reminds me to love on them, and it just has their list and their phone number in the
It's so simple. Like for me,
yeah.
some of y'all know this, I'm building leaders this year. And so I'm like, I need 10 leaders and I just love on those 10 people. It's so simple. Those are my only 10 people I have to focus on and love on. So like Laura, you're on here. Tashima, you're on here. Frank Chapa's on here. So I've got like, I only need 10 people and I'm just going to love on them and pour on them. And then the rest of my year is taken care of. You could do the same thing with production.
Ah, um negócio de EXP.
Let me mute her. Yeah, so that's a great homework. And then also, what's your daily non-negotiable? Every single day, you're going to author it. You'll own it. It's for your business. But every single day, what will you do consistently? Talk to 5 people, do a video, whatever it is, and then make your list of your referral partners. And if they're not referring you deals yet, but they're connectors, put them on your list and love on them and thank them in advance. Plant that seed. Awesome. Thank you, Laura, for being here. That was incredible.
Thank you, Amanda.
We do this every single Tuesday. We want to pour into our agents and our community. Laura and I are skipping out. We're flying to Georgia tomorrow, but we will be back for next Tuesday. And then that next Wednesday, we have Coffee and Collaboration in Houston. So if you're local, you are absolutely invited. And we are so lucky that next week, Tracy Franz is going to be teaching us how she does this 36 to life, and she applies it to so many different categories. So tune in. Let me know if you need anything, and have a great week.
Thank y'all.
Bye, everyone.